Hey, welcome back to Dan's Chess Lounge, everyone. So today we have round number 4 of the FIDE Chess Championship. Liren is playing white. Jan Nepomniachtchi has the black side. Let's see what transpired over the board. Ding starts out with an English opening. Jan played e5. That is one of the most direct ways of combating the English. And we have a 4 knights variation. Jan plays bishop b4 here. This is known as the quiet line. It's more of a positional line. Black would like to capture the knight and then try to build on having a better pawn structure and being able to target White's destroyed pawn structure. Queen c2, this is the main line here. And looking through the database, I noticed that Ding plays this variation quite often. So he's very comfortable in this position here. Jan captures the knight. And again, Ding captures back with the pawn. And you may wonder, well, why did he capture back with the pawn? He just played c2 there, and it's all because he wants this big center. He wants to get d4 in and have a big classical pawn center. d6, e4. This stops Black from playing e4 himself and preventing White from getting that big pawn center. Castles, bishop e2. Okay, Nepo moves the knight to h5 here. Looks like he wants to come in to f4 here. And you have d4. You have this beautiful pawn center here from Ding. And the knight does go into f4 here. And it's attacking the bishop. It's also attacking g2, right? So basically Nepo is saying, Ding, you have to give up one of your bishops here. So if he doesn't capture the knight right away, then he's just going to snap off the light square bishop, right? Or Ding is going to have to play g3. That's going to be ugly. Or he can retreat back to f1. That's also ugly. So basically, his position will be compromised. So Ding just captures the knight right away, right? But now, Ding has this beautiful pawn center here. It's beautiful. The knight is indirectly helping out in the center as well. It's a beautiful pawn center. Queen goes to f6. Rook fe1. Now it's getting ready to support. The rook is going to support his center. Rook e8. Bishop d3. Puts pressure on the knight, so the knight drops back. Now you have the knight on a5 here. Maybe getting ready to get a c5 in to put some pressure and try to break up this big central pawn mass. So Ding plays c5 first. He gets it in first. Right? Captures. And now you have e5 hitting the queen. And a beautiful pawn sacrifice. Ding did not capture the pawn there. He didn't play D captures there. That would have broke up his pawn center. Instead, he pushed. And now you have these beautiful pawns here in the middle of the board. Only 3 squares away from promotion. Both of them. So you have the rooks trying to play some defense here and stop these pawns. And the knight is useless on a5. So Nepo decided to play b6. That way the knight maybe can reroute and get back into the game. Push the question to the bishop. Bishop retreats. And now this is a beautiful move here because you have all different types of discoveries. Let's say the knight does jump in to B7 there. Then you have all types of D6 moves, hitting the knight there, and also hitting the pawn. So it's just a beautiful position here for Ding. Let's go back, see what he played instead. Played Rook E7. Now, don't fall for the trap here, because you see that there is the pawn here that's unprotected, right? Don't fall for the trap. Instead of playing Rook E7, right, Rook captures here is a move. Not a very good move, but it's a move, because then that falls to Bishop H7 check. And then you lose your rook. So instead of that, let's go back here. Instead of that, Jan plays Rook E7, right? And now the queen defends the pawn. He doubles on the E file. Bishop F3 allows white to also protect the white rook, to protect the pawn with the queen. Knight jumps back. And you have E6. So the pawn made another move, another push here. Knight D6. The knight is able to maneuver back into the game. That is one of black's best pieces here. Now, it's much better than it was when it was on the rim on A5. White doubles. Now the knight is on F5 and it wants to occupy this beautiful outpost here on D4. Bishop captures, queen captures. Rook E4, attacking the undefended pawn. Black defends. Now you have two attackers on the pawn. Now, Jan decides to play knight D4, and this is a critical moment in the game. If you would like to pause the video here and try to figure out what you would play in this position right here for white. Well, there's two attackers on the F4 pawn here, right? So you could play queen captures F4. The queens come off the board, and Jan would play C6, more than likely. And what this would do is he would be able to break up Ding's beautiful pawn structure here, his pawn chain. He would be able to break this up because if he pushes, then he could capture on E6, or if he captures the pawn on C6, then his chain is broken up. So this would be a great way for Nepo to continue the game. But that is not the move that Ding played. Ding did not play that. Instead, Ding played the beautiful rook captures knight, exchange sacrifice. Pawn captures back. And now the knight hops into B3. And if you just look at this position here, the knight is definitely better than the rooks. Black's rooks aren't doing anything but blockading those pawns there. They're defensive pieces, right, at the moment. The white knight can hop into D4, then to F5. It can put pressure and double attacks on the queen and rooks. I mean, the white knight is much better than the rook there. So that was a beautiful exchange sacrifice by Ding. He's definitely got his A game today. Nepo must have overlooked the strength of that move there. So he plays G5, right? Ding captures, he grabs some material, and Queen G6, because he wants to prevent Ding from being able to hop his knight into F5. So what does Ding do? Beautiful. He plays G4. Captures en passant. And then now there's no way to stop the knight from going to f5. It's unstoppable. The knight is a monster. So knight f5 there puts a lot of pressure on the black camp there, the black side. Rook goes to h7. Queen e4. This sets up some discovered checks on the black queen there, and if the knight moves to e7 or if it moves to h6. Let's see here. So the king sidesteps that, gets out of the way, and you have another pawn push. That is a monster pawn. It's only one square away from promotion. So the queen hops back, and you have d6. Now you have knight captures, and it's a double attack on the rook and also on the queen. Queen gets out of harm's way. Knight captures, queen captures. And if you look at the position here, the material is actually equal. After all of that, the material is equal here, but positionally, white is clearly better because that pawn on e7 is a monster. So you have queen e6. So the whole thing is going to be, how is Ding going to be able to promote this pawn or exploit, black's weakened, back rank and just, failed position? King comes out, rook f1. So now you have two attackers on the pawn there. Rook comes in to help. Now you're threatening back rank, hitting the queen. Okay, f5 hits the queen there, so the queen has to move. It does check. King f7. And now Nepo's position is so overworked that he had to give up more material here just to avoid being mated. The rook blocks a check, queen check, and the king is fleeing here to the middle of the board, but there's no good places for the king to really go to because it's cut off. The rook on d1 cuts it off, so he's kind of stuck anyway. Queen g7. And it's interesting to note that if the black queen does capture the pawn on e7 at any point, let's go back. If he captures the pawn on e7 at any point, white could always just play rook e1 check and win the queen. So that's something to always think about. So you have rook g6. And now queen f8. And this is the finisher here because black is out of good moves. Nepomniachtchi resigned at this point. But why did he resign? Let's go ahead and play out a few more moves. You can pause the video if you want. Try to figure out the moves yourself. There's a few different variations that can happen or occur here. For example, let's just say rook g8. Because rook g8 is really the only good move, though, that black could try to prolong the game here. But it still loses, though. For example, rook d8 is a great move here for white. And black has to start trading off pieces here. So he would capture, the pawn would capture and promotes, and then you just trade off material, and white is a rook up, right? Or if he doesn't do that variation there, let's say instead, after rook g8, let's say instead he played queen captures the rook. And then white simply plays rook d8, right? Now, you have to either capture the rook or you could play queen f7 here. If you don't want to just give up your queen, you can play queen f7. But then white's simply going to promote, and the end result is the same. White's up a full rook. So the game is clearly over. Great game from Ding Liren. He just played spectacularly here. It's a positional game. You know, I want to congratulate Ding for coming back to life. You know, it seemed like he was down. He was in despair. His spirits was low after he lost the game. I believe it was game 2 where he played 4H3. But he came back. You know, Ding has definitely came back. You know, I think his nerves got the best to him initially, but he's settled down now. Now Nepo has to go back to the drawing board. The match is all tied up. You know, so there's no advantage to either one player. You know, who's going to win this match? You know, Ding is a strategic positional player. Jan is a dynamic attacking tactical player. You know, it's like yin and yang here. Which side is going to prevail, though? All right, guys. So I hope you all enjoyed the video. There won't be one tomorrow. Tomorrow is a rest day for the players. So I'll see you guys in a couple days. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Take care.